excited. Fritz, a little intro from your side.
Thanks, Byron. Yeah, so I'm one of Byron's partners. I'm the head of Amazon Business Consulting, helping companies globally, but particularly in South Africa, understand how Amazon can work for them. And in this webinar, we're addressing what we see as the 5 key pillars of Amazon selling success. We've got this document that is in the chat too, so you can download it. It's a very short document, very concise, but just some notes that you'll be able to look back on. Some other kind of technicalities to address beforehand is that all of you participants are automatically muted and your video share is off. Furthermore, that this video is being recorded and will be uploaded to Amazon South Africa's YouTube channel, also on Fluid SA's YouTube channel, and a lot of auxiliary content, related complementary content to these different pillars is also on Fluid SA's website. You can see it in our blog section, which covers a lot of these in more detail, because we're going for more of a surface level dive into a wider variety of topics here. And finally, that if you have any questions, please type it into the chat, and we will address all of the questions at the end of the webinar, which should be about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more. And yeah, that's the intro. So let's dive into some of this content, and we're starting with what I'm most excited about, and one of the key reasons why Fluid SA actually spun off a leading Amazon agency in Germany to launch in South Africa, which is to help South African businesses, but also international businesses, take advantage of what we call a first mover opportunity, or here's a first mover advantage. So what helps to understand what this means is to realize in other Amazon marketplaces, for example, in America, where with the aforementioned parent company of ours, we helped German brands move into the USA and grow on Amazon.com. To do that, you have to have a significant budget available for advertising. That's just because Amazon's a competitive platform, especially its biggest marketplaces like America, Germany, England, Japan, etc. The list goes on. So you have to spend quite a bit of money on ads to actually work your way up the rankings. So that can be a process that can take a year before you're profitable, or there's not a set rule for time, of course, but you'll be sure to have to spend significantly on ads. So therein lies South Africa's advantage, in that Amazon.co.za does not yet require an extensive ad budget to get top rankings. So I want to also highlight that I say optimized listings can secure top rankings without advertising spend. So if your listings aren't optimized, they're not necessarily going to secure these rankings. But if you follow some of these pillars, like what Byron's going to speak about, SEO mastery and other points, then there's a solid chance, a very high chance indeed, for your product to get top rankings without having to spend on advertising. So the next kind of question that you should perhaps be asking now is, what do top rankings mean, and why is it actually valuable to have top rankings on Amazon ZA? Which that question should come forward from the notion that while the flip side of the coin that it's easy to get top rankings is that there also isn't that much traffic of customers. And that's just natural for Amazon to launch when they launch in a new country. It's only been in South Africa for close to 11 months, so less than a year, still very much so in its infancy. And as the term first mover advantage indicates, there's this time aspect to this advantage where you want to get in before it actually grows in such size. So why are top rankings valuable? Well, because in months and years to come, and Amazon is certainly dedicated to being here for years to come, their market share will continue to develop. And as it does, your products, which have now secured top rankings, while it was very cheap to secure them, especially compared to any other marketplace of Amazon's globally, that they can rise with the tide, a very organic process of sales growth, where you grow sales just by having secured those top rankings and growing with Amazon to increase sales as their market share develops. So some of the key reasons that we like to educate people about as to why we are so confident in Amazon's success in South Africa is, besides their tremendous resources and capacity and history, it's just looking at what they've achieved in other countries that are far more advanced and more competitive than South Africa. Amazon's marketplaces have succeeded tremendously. And it's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that happens within the first year. But in the years to come, you will certainly thank yourself for investing into Amazon ZA while it was so nascent, while it was still in its earliest days. So that's kind of the first mover advantage in South Africa. But what I see as the most exciting part of it is that it actually offers South African businesses the chance to enter Amazon marketplaces globally, and in particular marketplaces that they otherwise never would have been able to enter because of these aforementioned barriers to entry, financial barriers to entry, in that Amazon is very competitive. There's really big sellers on it. In every category, there are many, many sellers in the USA in particular, but also in the other big countries. But now, with this roadmap laid out by Amazon's launch in South Africa, listing on Amazon ZA early with optimized listings, emphasis on optimized again, securing top rankings, growing with Amazon over time organically as it develops in South Africa, and then using what we call the algorithmic credibility established on Amazon ZA to enter, to sort of springboard or launchpad into other Amazon marketplaces globally. So this is something that Fluid SA, as a full-service Amazon agency, has achieved for several South African businesses, and something we're really passionate about educating businesses on, which is also why we offer extensive free consultation, which is something we can speak about a bit more later. But yeah, this roadmap to actually enter Amazon.com or Germany is awesome, because it's a chance that wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for this launch of Amazon in your backyard, to enter huge marketplaces with millions of traffic on a monthly basis. It's a really awesome opportunity, something we're really excited about, and I think something that any clever business owner or seller should be educated on and aware of. So we hope that we can help with that process. So now Byron will continue to touch on what does optimized listings mean, and that starts with Amazon SEO mastery.
Thanks, Fritz. So with Amazon SEO mastery, this can be a very large touching point for the beginning of your listing process, but that's not where it stops. SEO is a constant battle, and it's something you can always almost improve on with iterations to your listings. But if we're thinking about it from a beginning starting point, listings haven't been created yet, then the best way to start would be to keyword optimize your listings. This is, of course, bringing in high volume keywords, which blend naturally into the titles, the bullet points, the descriptions. This is a very comprehensive way to boost organic visibility as well as search relevance. It's what we often call front-end keywords, which is keywords that you can actually read within a product detail page. These high-end keywords are also what you would probably be using in your PPC advertising campaigns, which we will get to at a later date, or a later point in this webinar rather. But with having these keywords as well as your PPC ads running these keywords, it's a better way to run it, and a better way to actually try and drive those keywords to your keyword traffic to your products. The content is obviously a massive part about Amazon. Many other e-commerce platforms don't offer the amount of content opportunities that Amazon does with brand stores, A+ content, videos, So having your content up to quality is extremely powerful way to drive conversions. Creating high quality, informative content that engages and informs customers. Obviously, in an e-commerce environment where customers aren't able to physically touch, feel, get a real understanding of the product from a physical standpoint, they really need to get a good understanding, a high quality, informative understanding of the product. And the best way to drive this is via content, infographics, any of those types of content. And stand out from competitors with concise, compelling product details. A big thing with content as well, Fritz is going to be talking about content the next page, so I won't get too deep on it, is obviously the cover image and then the product detail images. Standing out from competitors, especially at a first glance from a search results page, is a strong way to drive your CTR, your click-through rate. And once they're in the listing themselves, making sure they have informative content that engages them will increase your conversion rate. Coming to back-end keywords, this is something that maybe not too many new sellers understand or know how to really optimize and use. These are keywords that are not front-end keywords. Obviously, back-end and front-end, they're opposites. These are keywords you can't see but are relevant to your product. They maybe do not fit into the copy of the product, but are worthwhile to have. If someone was to search for something, they'd still find your product. These are created and kind of uploaded in the back end when you list the products. Look for generic keyword. That's an attribute that is where the back end keywords are found when listing. And as it says here, optimize the use of hidden back end keywords to enhance the product discoverability without overloading visible content. You will see listings sometimes, especially in more developed markets at least, where people have just overused keywords to make it extremely search relevant, but then it's not very readable by a human. They've optimized it for the bots rather than for human contact. It's not exactly what you want to do, and if you need to do something like that, use back-end keywords. That's what we would recommend. What we often refer to is the currency of Amazon, which is customer reviews and ratings. These are a great way to build brand confidence and product confidence. One of the first things users do is look at ratings and reviews before engaging in a sale or a purchase rather. So encouraging customer reviews improves SEO rankings. Obviously, you don't want bad reviews, you don't want bad ratings, but the only way to do that is to have a high quality product with high quality customer service. Highlighting the importance of positive feedback and high ratings on a product visibility. We have a couple of ways we like to drive this. We focus on bi-monthly customer review requests, which you can do via Seller Central, and your manage orders, like just your manage orders toolbox or your tool. And then also there's even other avenues you can expand in this, which could be pamphlet use. If you have the ability to add pamphlets that you ask for, please leave a positive review. There's a good example. Fritz is showing one on his screen. Just a thank you card. It's very personalized, and it can really drive that person to actually say, "Wow, I really enjoy this product. Let me go leave a review." And with that comes obviously better SEO rankings. And then a last little point here on the SEO mastery section would be mobile optimization. Something that not a lot of people think about, but with mobile phones and being such a huge part of human life and society at the moment, with often all the time over 50% of your page views coming from mobile users, is extremely important to ensure listings are optimized for mobile users. Focusing on a mobile-friendly content to improve user experience and conversion rates on mobile devices. As I mentioned before, a large portion of your page views are coming from mobile. You can see this in, especially if you have a brand store, you'll be able to see mobile users. if you have a brand store, you obviously want to optimize all that content. If you have A+, you want to optimize all that content on every product you have for mobile use. And that runs me to the end of the SEO mastery for now. Obviously, this is all very at a top glance. If you want to obviously look deeper into it, there is a lot of info on our website and also our YouTube. Fritz,
yeah,
take away the content.
Thanks, guys. For sure. So again, just iterating on what Byron said regarding iterations. That's a really key part of what anyone within your selling business must be aware of with Amazon, is that it's not just kind of set it up and then sit back. You have to continuously manage it. So that's something that's important for sellers to be aware of, that they are going to have to dedicate resources of time and human capital towards this, which is also why agencies like ours exist. And then again, just cementing what Byron said about the more surface level glance into these different pillars we're giving to try touch on as many as possible. We're taking that approach. But if you want more details into any of these pillars, again, we got our blog section on the website. And of course, you can get in touch with us and we'll give you a consultation to explain all of this in more detail. And of course, you can use the chat function in the webinar. So to speak about content, there are two metrics that you must be aware of. And these relate to the fact that Amazon is a massive digital platform of people who are actually all potential customers coming on with purchasing intention. So unlike Google, for example, customers or people are going onto there to just get information. On Amazon, people are generally coming on to make a purchase. So that is why you would want to list on it. And it is important to realize what these two metrics represent. So we have the CTR.
I don't mean to interrupt, Fritz, but I don't know if our presentation is currently still being displayed.
Should be.
I can't see it from my side, and Emily is also mentioning it.
Okay, I see.
Let's try share it again.
Thanks.
Let's show us.
We back?
Yeah, it's loading.
Cool, thanks. So I'll just keep speaking about content. But okay, cool. Thanks, Byron and Emily. So the click-through rate is the first metric I want to emphasize. And there's no better way than to actually show an Amazon search engine result page. So when a customer comes in to type whatever they're looking for, in this case, maybe insect repelling candles, then they're bombarded with dozens and dozens of different results. And what are the key factors to influence which one they may click on? So for me, it's clear that my kind of own brain matches the data in terms of the image being the first factor. This is what catches your attention, the different colors, the background. So this is technically not allowed to have a background that's not clear. So that would be a dangerous tactic to use. But the image is definitely a key and leading factor to determine which one am I going to click on. So that's what the click-through rate is. It's just a ratio of clicks, how many people are clicking your product compared to those that were presented with your product. So that's the click-through rate. And just to give mention to the other factors which are key in influencing it, it's of course the price. So people will look at the image, yes, but then they will look at the price. And if you have your budget in mind, they're not going to click on ones above it. They'll click on ones below it. And then the other ones are the title, but more than the title is actually the reviews. These are really easy ways for people to make a decision on which one will I click on. So to summarize, it's the image, the price, and the reviews. Those are really key factors, as Byron called the reviews, the currency, in a sense, of this marketplace. So if we go into a product to look at the content, so now we have gotten a click, and we might say that was from this cover image, which has some copy on it that you can read already. So that's a best practice. So here, for example, we can't actually read what it says. Here we can. Okay, better than Citronella. We can see an image which is relating to the product's function, illustrating its whole point. which is the mosquito being crossed out there. And we can see the South African flag, which is also meant to draw customer attention. So if we've succeeded in getting an interested person to click on it, as Byron also emphasized, the importance of the images that come thereafter. Of course, there's also the copy, which is going to be, it's also a key point, but the images are maybe what might be the asset that will sway the customer to actually purchase your product, especially because they're not getting to actually touch it. So infographics is something to focus on. You can see it's very simple design, but it can be very effective just by emphasizing the unique selling points of your product and what it actually does. So within 3 to 4 images, you should push up to 5, 6, 7 images, but you should very easily be able to illustrate what does the product do. So here we can see this bubble repelling insects. We can see that it works outdoors. We can see happy people, and we can see this key info of up to 30 hours. So in one image, we're displaying a lot of key content compared to another image of, let's say, just the product, where this isn't really giving info that will convince someone to buy it. It's important to have there, but you need to have these complementary photos, these infographics, and also lifestyle images. So here's also showing, comparing it to other products. That's a great way to convince people this is the same. And then, of course, trying to manage expectations and give instructions on how to use the product, because if people buy it and then use it wrong, they will probably blame you and maybe leave a bad review. So that's why we emphasize keep wick trimmed at all times. We try to really make all that clear. So content, there's an expression, is king on Amazon. Content is king. For the click-through rate, okay, we got the click, but now actually to get them to buy now, looking at the content here is a huge influence in that. There's more real estate, let's call it, to look at content, which is so-called below the fold. When you scroll down and you can see more from the brand, you can see other products. So this is important for cross-selling, especially if you have variations. You want to advertise the other products on the same page, because people are, of course, liable then to look at your other products. And the brand store that Byron mentioned, which is here, where all the products are available. And what's very unique about this is that there are no other products of other sellers being advertised here. It's just Fever Tree, it's just these products. And that's a really unique advantage that you have to take advantage of on Amazon. So that I think should make the importance of content quite clear. And in particular, Amazon space for brand representation. So as Byron also said, a lot of other online platforms, they don't actually give businesses the space to really really display their brand strength, whereas Amazon does. And you don't want to not step up to that and put in the effort to have such content developed, which is something that as a full service Amazon agency, we're also completely competent to do, not just making beautiful content, but really data driven. That's going to be built to maximize the click-through rate and the conversion rate. And that's particularly important for international standards. So if we're going to try enter a more competitive marketplace like America or Europe, if your content isn't meeting these high levels, which the best sellers on those platforms certainly are meeting, you're not going to have the chance to compete with them. So for internationalization, that's key. And then this last point is putting an extra emphasis on the cover image for the click-through rate. So I've shown you this now 4 times. I'll show it to you a 5th time, which is the click-through rate. How are you going to get someone to click on yours? The cover image is the most important. Optimize it to the max to try attract sales ultimately. And yeah, that's the importance of content. The next point is PPC strategy optimization, which Byron will be discussing.
Thanks, Fritz. So PPC strategy optimization and PPC in general, this is one of, if not the most hands-on part of selling on Amazon. This is where we spend a lot of our time reviewing strategizing seasonal budget changes. This is almost a 3 to 4 time a week review that we do on these for larger clients that are selling in numbers versus smaller clients. It's a little less of a hands-on game, and we can maybe do it 2-week reviews, but it's still a large portion of our time into these management phases. Starting off with budget optimization, maximize ROI through strategic budget management. With budget management, you can have obviously multiple strategies. We like to break it down into usually 3, but this is very general when you talk about defensive, neutral, and aggressive strategies for budgeting. This can also be a very seasonal budget strategies. Obviously, if you have a seasonal product that's out of season in the States, don't have an aggressive budget campaign. Rather go for a defensive. We often say don't ever close your campaigns, as this is a way that you can definitely lose a lot of organic ranking that you've built up from more aggressive campaigns. So always keep something running, but changing your bidding strategy will allow you to persist at a relatively consistent budget that aligns with what you have available for advertising. So adjusting bids based on performance metrics to stay cost effective. This just goes with the data analytics behind PPC advertising, reviewing your campaigns, pulling out effective data that tells you your CTR, your ACOS, all these KPIs that you really want to know at all times. And this is how you can decide on what's the best way to scale, what keywords you're ranking well for, what keywords you're not ranking well for, where you're wasting money, where you're gaining money. We could talk about this for a whole hour if we wanted to, but I'll keep it relatively straightforward. Keyword targeting, focus on comprehensive keyword research. So this is what I was talking about earlier with the keywords in your front end at the very least. Making sure at least the keywords that you're targeting for high volume, relevant traffic to your page should also be included within your product detail page. Incorporated somehow into that copy if it makes sense naturally. Otherwise, focus on the ad campaigns to push those keywords as well. Balancing your keyword match types to optimize reach and efficiency. So there are 3 keyword match types that is offered via Amazon Ads Console. We have broad, we have exact, and we have phrase matching. Broad is a very good way to match. At the start, it's a great way to also research what keywords work or search terms work. Broad allows you to then have any keywords in front of that keyword or any keywords after that keyword, and if it's a phrase, anything in the middle as well. It allows for a very, very broad range of keywords that can relate to what you've entered there. Exact keywords obviously target exactly what you've put in. These are usually more expensive and are usually going to be the keywords that, a brand name could be an exact, a product name could be an exact, a product type could be an exact. It's a little bit less play on what could possibly come up as a search term, but it's obviously a very effective way to hit exact keywords that you will rank for. Usually are a little bit more on the expensive side, but are very effective if you can find a good 10 to 20 exact keywords that you want to apply for. Phrase keywords, these are a bit more long tail. They allow for a lot of different variations in how people search for your items, and also are not to be missed. We've had a lot of success with strong long tail phrase keywords, and shouldn't be skipped. So learning about all these 3 types, you seem to have lost the presentation again there, Fritz. Learning about all these different types of keywords and understanding how they work is a very, very powerful tool. And it's something that ads cannot be slept on, for lack of a better word. They should be well understood and well executed, and very often reviewed, changed, and strategizing differently. Going on to next, the ad types and placement. Amazon offers they do offer a couple of more, especially in the States, but we'll talk about the main three here, which are sponsored products, sponsored brands, and sponsored display. Leveraging all three of these is a good way to optimize your campaigns. Sponsored products rather, have the highest average conversion rate of about 10 to 12%. They can go as high as 20 to 30% on really strong conversions. Sponsored brands, we're going to usually have an average conversion rate of 5 to 8% across those types. And then sponsored display coming in with, we like to use sponsored display as more of a reach, like how much impressions you can really build, because sponsored display is used not only in Amazon advertising, but it's also a third-party advert type, so that can be seen on any other page on Google. You'll see an Amazon advert, that's your sponsored display. These have a conversion rate of less than 5%, but as I said before, we use them for reach rather than for conversions. With sponsored display, you can also run things such as remarketing campaigns, which are really powerful, and not a lot of people understand them. Fritz, don't you mind muting your mic there? It's just making a couple of noises. With sponsored remarketing, you can basically remarket your adverts to people who have previously had impressions from your adverts before. Strong way to push the brand, strong way to push your products. It's getting that in front of people's faces again, keeps running that idea that it's a good purchase. So learning about these different strategic placements to enhance that ad visibility and engagement is extremely important. I'm not going to keep harping on about that. Seasonal trends and timing, also very important. If you have a product that has seasonality to it, even Fritz's example earlier of the Fever Tree candles, that's a mosquito repellent candle. Obviously, you're going to have better sales in summer months. So capitalizing on seasonal trends to boost campaign effectiveness. You're going to plan your ad spend spikes around consumer buying patterns and product seasonality rather. This it's quite an obvious thing, but I guess not a lot of people are necessarily engaging in it. Strategizing your defensive and aggressive campaigns around your seasonality, extremely important. And then performance analysis, as I've mentioned before, something we do very often, weekly. Utilizing the different tools that they give you to track ACOS, your CTR and conversion rates. I'll just give a quick rundown of ACOS and CTR. So ACOS stands for your advertising cost of sales. Basically a ratio percentage of what you have gained in sales over what you've spent in sales. CTR is your click-through rate. A strong click-through rate indicates that you have a product that customers are interested in seeing, and something that it indicates this scalability within that ad campaign or that keyword or whatever it may be that has this high CTR. It's one of our main pushes of scalability because it shows people's interest. Obviously, conversion rates are extremely important, but getting a high CTR is almost more important to us to get that we know that people are engaging with it. And if people are engaging with it, we need to figure out a way to get the conversion rate up if it's lower than it should be. We do this by continuously refining those campaigns based on those data-driven insights to improve performance. This is something that you can't just get right in a month. It can take years to really get perfectly perfected ad campaigns and to finalize what you think will work. Often other times you think you've got it all sorted out. You've got your keyword research from your relative keyword research like softwares. You've done everything you think you can, and the ad campaign just doesn't bring any sales. It's like that sometimes. There's no defined way to really, sell a product. But continuously refinement is the best option that you have, and that's what we do, as I said, weekly basis, if not daily sometimes. So brush up on your PPC strategy optimization. It's extremely important as a seller to understand how this works. So far in the South African market, it's relatively slow, but if you're the next 5 years, it gets big and you don't know what's going on, you're going to start losing out. Same for America, the UK, any other larger Amazon marketplace. You're not going to get very far if you don't know what you're doing, and especially if you're not running ads, you just won't. You won't even get over the fold. People won't see your products, and you won't get any sales. So it's extremely important, and let's focus on it going forward as a seller. And that's what I'd recommend. And that's it from my side for the PPC chats. Back to Fritzy for the globalization part of this.
Thanks, Spice. Yeah, and just to emphasize again how these are, Byron could speak about each of these points for 2 hours. And this is meant to introduce perhaps people to points that they're not familiar with. And keep in mind that this document is in the chat to guide you with some questions you might have, or if you want to book a meeting with either Byron or myself, then you can speak to us about any of these points in way more detail, and we'll be happy to have such a conversation with you. The final concluding topic of this webinar is global marketplace expansion tactics. So this was also the last point of the first mover advantage, which I just want to touch back on, because these marketplaces that were otherwise unreachable for especially smaller South African businesses, let's say solopreneurs is a word I like, kind of individuals that are just working as hard as they can and using their initiative to become an online seller. Even really small enterprises can now reach global markets using Amazon South Africa as the gateway. So it's something that's feasible and something that you should understand, because you might have thought that it's kind of out of reach, but it actually is very much within reach. So the first place where we start with globalization is the marketplace selection. So of course, that's a key point, is which country are we actually going to launch into? So what are the points to consider there? One is, of course, your own budget and the existing strength of your Amazon listings. So if you've taken this first mover advantage strategy, where you've grown with Amazon in South Africa, you've established reviews and sales history, then your algorithmic credibility will be stronger and a lesser ad budget would be necessary for entering a far bigger market, because you can actually transfer reviews across and enter these countries not as a sort of fresh, unknown seller, but as a more senior veteran of Amazon almost. So considering your budget, we will establish a marketplace, but also the demand for your product in its category in country, which of course can vary from country to country, and the level of competition. So a way that you can do an analysis like this is using Amazon's own tools or other softwares. Like you might have noticed, we have the Jungle Scout extension here, which can help you to look at different categories that you can search anything and then see how are people doing, what's the monthly revenue like, how many sellers are there, and you can get a opportunity score, which will show you the level of demand and competition, which will help you to make this decision of which country to go into. Of course, the first point would then be having an optimized listing. You're not going to launch into another country if your listings aren't highly optimized for those more competitive marketplaces. So this is why we're closing off with this point, because it rests on the PPC strategy, it rests on the content, and it rests on SEO. All of that must be already highly optimized, but then furthermore customized for the country you're launching into. So that relates to, firstly, regulatory compliance, which is about your account and the specific products you have. So other countries might have regulation and policies governing your product's entry into the country, but also sellability. And of course, you must have done that research and be compliant to avoid any disasters when you enter that country, which is also something that Fluid SA, as a full service Amazon agency, is handling on a weekly basis for new partners that are looking into expanding into new countries. So the next kind of thing to have really ironed out is the logistics, which can be a major cost of e-commerce, especially if you're selling into a new country. So we have our own network of couriers for international logistics, which we would then compare with your infrastructure that you may or may not already have set up to optimize those costs, get them as low as possible, ship in the best quantity of stock too. Sometimes when you ship in a bigger crate, it actually might get cheaper. There's an optimum kind of size of stock per cost to minimize the inventory and storage cost per unit. So that's an analysis that we should do together, or you should do, to properly have the chance of being competitive in the other country that you're going into. Of course, you don't want to have to raise your price too much to stay competitive. Then there's the language and listing being customized. So we might put in different keywords in the backend, especially. So if we're launching in America, we might do keywords in Spanish in the backend, just to appeal to the large Latin American Spanish-speaking communities that may be shopping on Amazon. That, of course, applies to Europe for European languages and so on. So that's really key, because you can't assume that people are going to be searching relevant keywords in English or whichever language you speak. So you must customize to the language. And the last point is something that you should definitely know about and that we're a big fan of, is Amazon's Vine program, which is essentially where you get the opportunity to send your product for free. So it's a cost that you incur to select a group of certified reviewers, basically customers that are enrolled into this program to receive products and review them. So it's a great way to accumulate reviews, which, as we've also emphasized, are a currency of Amazon and a key way to grow in the sales ranking. And the Vine program is certainly something you should do when launching into a new country, especially once you're confident that your listing is highly optimized, because you wouldn't be wanting to send out a product if your listing is subpar. It should be highly optimized, and then you can go for the Vine to try scale it out. So that concludes our pillars of Amazon selling success. You can check out our website, the blog, to learn more about it. You can also look at the Need to Know tab to learn a bit more about these specifics, or watch some YouTube videos about it, learn into these specific details that we've touched on, or best speak to us and we'll give you far more customized and in-depth advice. And I think now we'll look for any questions in the chat, but otherwise that is all. Thanks a lot for joining us, but we'll be looking at questions now. Byron, can you see some questions there, or can I stop sharing my screen to look?
I've been playing around in the background, replying to most of these privately, but I can definitely go on and just talk through some questions. If anybody has any other questions and would like to quickly post them in the chat, it is unmoderated, so we can see everything that's coming through. Just running through here, I have, here's a good question. I did reply to privately, but I'll kind of give the answer back here. The question is, are these restrictions on when we can access the US market? Can I activate it prior to having a ranking? Then what kind of numbers are you talking about regards to ad spend per annum on Amazon? So no, there's no official hard cap lock that you would have to launch on the US Amazon. However, the competitiveness of the market is absolutely unfathomable compared to that of even the UK, or we don't even want to talk about South Africa because it's not even, it's comparing apples to oranges at that point. It will be extremely hard for you to get any relevance or visibility on the American marketplace without a good few reviews. We sometimes talk in the range of 100 to maybe 200 reviews. You can do it with less. And if we're talking about ad spend, especially as coming in as a new player, you probably wouldn't want to do any less than 500 to 1,000, if not more. 1,000 seems like more of a minimum. So it is a pay-to-play as we've mentioned before in this webinar. It's a pay-to-play game with new launches into Amazon's American marketplace. So per annum, I mean, $12,000 minimum, possibly. That's without strong rankings going into it before. I hope that answers that question relatively well. Craig from Joburg was asking if we're talking about the content displayed on Amazon product detail pages or just content in social media funnels. With this webinar, we were talking about the content referred to on product detail pages, as well as the content in brand stores. That's a lot of content you can use for brand store creation, and brand store creation is an extremely powerful tool to build brand trust, as well as customer brand trust. Will there be a replay of this live? Yes, there will. There will be a recording of this webinar on Amazon's YouTube channel, the South African Amazon YouTube channel. Is it a good idea to use customer keyword searches from my Take-A-Lot product ad campaigns, especially if they are current? I think that's a great way to start your Amazon ads campaigns, especially since they're current and they've got some prior research going. So that's definitely a good tactic. Yeah, I'd say yes to that question. Not easy to get the retail shop set up. Is there a contact number to call where we can call for assistance? Not sure what that means. Get in touch with us if you want help with any of these points. Let's see if I can only join late. This answered that. Typical monthly annual spend in RSA. What is the typical monthly annual spend in the RSA Amazon store? Nothing really, to be honest. We have very low payments at the moment. Our ad campaigns maybe run for only $100 a month, if that. It's slowly increasing. Some of our clients who've been running for over 6 months have only spent 500 Rand, so less than 100 Rand a month. So as I said, get in touch with us. We can also talk to you through these points. We're more than happy to help. Link keeps dropping. What is the best way to establish keywords for a product? A good way to start would just be product name, brand name, as well as what the product is, product type, product category. Look at other products within your category. Look at the keywords that they have in their listings, and then go from there. Once you've started a campaign, it'll keep building up search terms. Another something that's very important is to look at the search terms of an ad campaign, which you will find. If you open the ad campaign, you will see a thing that says search terms. Go there. That's all the search terms that have been clicked on by a user. I suggest also, if you're starting off ad campaigns, you don't have a lot of keywords to rank for yet, use broad keywords. Make sure you're using broad keywords. Any tools which we can currently use to search for Amazon SA market for search volumes and competition? There is currently, I do not believe there are any API integrations for the South African Amazon marketplace yet. They're all focused on the American and UK markets mostly. So I'd say no. There's currently no Amazon SA integration for search volumes and competition. It's also very small. The Amazon ads in the South African market space. It's tiny, small, low traffic, low data rates, but it's slowly increasing. So I think over time we will see API integrations for the South African marketplace. It might just take a little bit of time. From my side, I think that's all the questions I can see currently. If you have any more, please get in touch with us. We have sent the links. We have showed the website, www.fluidsa.co.za. We're more than happy to answer any questions. Send us an email, pop us a message. We can set up a meeting, discuss all these points further. We love that.
Thanks for all the questions and participation. Any other questions, feel free to contact us from the website.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be in touch.
Bye.
See you soon.